Good morning. In today's lesson, I will discuss about the word setting. So what is a setting? So when we say setting, it is the psychological time or place in the story. So in the story, you can make it into 1920s, you can write it into present 21st centuries, or in the place, you can make your story into a forest, you can have a setting in a field, in a beach, so it depends upon you. So settings are very important because it can establish the mood or atmosphere of a scene or in the story. And a setting can develop the plot into a more realistic form, resulting in a more convincing characters. Through setting, we can visualize what the author is trying to convey to us. So try to imagine if your story is about high school students who are studying in the library, but your background is only a white background. So do you think that is convincing? So no. So that's how important settings are. So we have here different types of settings. So we have the fantasy setting, the science fiction setting, historical setting, horror setting, and the humor narrative. So let's discuss this one by one. So first, we have the fantasy setting. So the elements include magic and supernatural or mythological creature. So you can know that the story has this setting if you happen to see a dragon, an elf, a fairy, an ogre, so something magical in nature. So that is fantasy setting. Next setting is the science fiction setting. So setting is generally in the future or near future. Common elements involve futuristic technology, contact with aliens, life forms, experimental societies, or space travel. So in short, this setting involves science and technology. So if you happen to watch the movie Transformers, so they have this kind of setting. And the one Alien versus Predator, we also have the science fiction setting. And in the third picture, we have here the futuristic technology. Next setting, we have the historical setting. So the setting takes place in the past. So as you can see in the picture, we have here their background is the castle since it was done during the past era, so during their past dynasty. So you have also to wear costume appropriate to that scene. So for example, this one they wear kimono, and this one they wear clothes during medieval times because it was shooted in medieval era. So next one is we have the horror settings. Take its inspiration from horror literature. So one of the common elements of a horror setting, of course, the lighting. It should be dark, and at the same time, it should be scary. You can use supernatural creatures like White Lady, monsters, and also it should be thrilling, something that can make your heart skip a bit. So if you happen to watch it, they have that kind of horror setting. Same with Sadako and Conjuring. Next, we have the humor narrative. So it is based on creating situations which are funny or have a funny premise. So in this kind of setting, you can choose either verbal or non-verbal communication. So in a verbal communication, you can say or utter words that make your audience laugh. Or you can use non-verbal such as gestures, body movements, hand movements. So same thing with Mr. Bean, something like that. So let us recall again the different types of settings. So we have the fantasy setting, the science fiction setting, historical setting, horror setting, and humor narrative. Now I have here prepared pictures and tell me what type of setting is shown. So the first picture is this one. So what type of setting is this? Okay, so that is a horror setting because they involve a supernatural creature, a white lady that will make you feel scared. Next picture, what type of setting is that? So that is a humor narrative because as we can see, his body movement can make the audience laugh. Next, what type of setting is this? Okay, so that is a science fiction setting because it involves a futuristic technology. Next, what type of setting is this one? Okay, so that is an example of historical setting because they are wearing traditional costume and at the same time their background is the castle. Next, how about this one? So that is a fantasy setting because as you can see we have the common elements, fairies, gods, mermaids, talking animals, and last but not least, what type of setting is this? Okay, so this is also an example of a horror setting because it involves supernatural creatures like manananggal, tikbalan, kapre, and so on. So those are the types of settings, so I hope you've learned something today.